Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're continuing to talk about our featured novel this month in our unit on literature, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. This sounds like a novel that may be of interest to young people and to Americans, I guess, because America, of course, has memories of the Iraq War. And, gee, are there other wars going on? I guess we're still involved in Afghanistan and other parts of the Middle East. And so this might be of interest to Americans more than anybody else, but still it's a book about war and being a veteran and coming back to your home country and the kind of welcome you receive and things like that.
Well, and our Taiwanese listeners are definitely going to want to go see the movie to support their own Ang Lee. So he's the director of the film.
And that would probably be their biggest incentive to see the movie.
Oh, yeah, he's a great director. So I'm sure the film will be interesting. The guy they cast as Billy Lynn is really handsome, ladies.
Ooh.
So you might want to go see the movie. Right now, though, we're going to talk about some of the themes in the book, what the author was trying to communicate through his work of fiction. Right now, guys, we're going to read through today's lesson, and then we'll be back. Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk takes a look at the complex relations between the government, soldiers, and the general public during times of war. It examines the way war heroes are treated in modern society. In the book, the soldiers of Bravo Company are publicly commended for defending their country. Yet they realize that when the war is over, they have little to look forward to. Soldiers often return home with mental and physical disabilities that they struggle with for the rest of their lives. Far too often, their employment opportunities are extremely limited, and they are compelled to work minimum wage jobs with only a slight chance for advancement. Fountain also questions the motives of the government when it deals with war heroes. The soldiers of Bravo Company were sent by the government on a cross-country victory tour, during which people could meet them face-to-face and express their gratitude. On the surface, the tour appears to be a grand gesture to glorify the soldiers. However, the government intends to use the soldiers' experiences for a propaganda film and hopes it will influence more people to support the war. Fountain raises the question of whether or not this behavior is morally acceptable and allows the readers to judge for themselves. Finally, the novel examines the strained relations between the soldiers and patriotic citizens. Billy feels that these citizens' opinions about warfare are often misguided. Since they have never seen the horrors of war, there is no way they can make an informed judgment about whether a war is righteous or not. Therefore, he thinks their blind support for war is dreadful. By the end of the novel, readers are forced to reappraise what people really support when their governments encourage them to support the troops.
Okay, let's talk about today's lesson here. It's the last time we're going to be talking about our featured novel, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, and we're talking about some of the ideas that are explored in this book. So let's get to it, everybody. This particular novel, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, takes a look at the complex relations between the government, soldiers, and the general public during times of war. So in this sentence, we have the word complex, which means very complicated. It involves all sorts of things. It's not simple.
No, it's anything but simple. So there are really complex relations between the government, soldiers, and just us. We're the general public. That's who the general public is. So it examines the way war heroes, those that are heroic during the war, are treated in modern society. That's us again. We're modern society. Now, in the book, there are soldiers who belong to the Bravo Company. That's the troop of soldiers. They call themselves the Bravo Company. They're publicly commended for defending their country. If you commend somebody, you praise them for doing something that's really great. Maybe they've sacrificed for some people, or maybe they've donated their time to charity. You commend them for their actions. We also can use the adjective form, commendable. Oh, that's very commendable of you. How nice of you to help your little brother do his homework.
Or you can use the noun form, commendation. He received a commendation for his public service, for example.
Which is like a medal if you're in the military, right? They get commendations, which are medals.
Absolutely. So, yes, indeed, this book is talking about the soldiers of Bravo Company.
Yeah.
They're publicly recognized, commended for defending their country, yet they realize that when the war is over, they have little to look forward to. So I don't know if they use that same term, but in Vietnam, they said they're going to rotate back to the world after the war. They're going to return to their home country. And a lot of them had difficulty readjusting to life after seeing those horrors there. And oftentimes people just didn't really welcome them back properly. They didn't really have a lot of employment opportunities and stuff like that. So here it says soldiers often return home with mental and physical disabilities that they struggle with for the rest of their lives. So yes, when they go back to their home country, of course, it's difficult for them to readjust because they might have some mental disabilities. What's that called? Post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah, PTSD.
That's an example of a mental disability. And that involves flashbacks and bad dreams and things like that.
Yeah, and even if they hear a loud sound, it can affect their minds. They think they're back in the war. And some of these soldiers have actually attacked members of their family, which is really scary.
That's a possible mental disability. And also they might suffer from physical disabilities. That goes without saying. They may have had limbs blown off.
Too many bombs in the Middle East.
Yeah, they've gone deaf or blind or something, so they have some physical disabilities, and they struggle with these things for the rest of their lives. It's very difficult for them to have a normal life after experiencing something like that.
That's right. So far too often, their employment opportunities are extremely limited. And they are compelled to work minimum wage jobs with only a slight chance for advancement. A lot of these soldiers, they sign up to serve in the military right out of high school, so they don't have a lot of education. Now, some of the military, they are very well educated. It depends. But those that just sign up right out of high school, when they get back, their skills in the military, while commendable, they may not match up very well with some of the jobs available out there. So that's why their employment opportunities are limited. Employment refers to getting a job. If you're employed, it means someone has given you a job. If you're an employer, you're someone who has the ability to hire someone else for a job. So they're also compelled or forced. That's what compel means. Compelled to work minimum wage jobs. There's a law in most countries that you have to pay workers a certain amount, and you can't pay them below that. Minimum wage jobs aren't very well paid. I think it's maybe $9, $10 now an hour, with only a slight chance for advancement. Slight means very, very small. An advancement means getting promoted.
Exactly. So, yes, they're compelled, they're kind of encouraged or maybe even forced to work these low-paying jobs, minimum wage jobs. I certainly know about them. I've had lots of minimum wage jobs in my lucrative career as a short-order chef, as a mail delivery person.
I worked in a department store when I was in high school.
And you got minimum wage then, too?
Sure.
Okay, yes, that's what happens mostly with young people as they're going through high school, college, and stuff like that. But, hey, imagine if you're already 22, 23 years old. You should be getting a more lucrative job, but these people are only allowed to work minimum wage jobs like dishwashers.
Well, they're not allowed. It just means they don't have the skills they need to get a better job.
Exactly right. They don't have the training, and maybe they don't have the money to get that training. and they only have a very small chance for advancement. Advancement means just to get higher positions in a company, more responsibility, and of course, more money.
Yeah, if you're promoted, you usually get an increase in your salary, which we all want, don't we? Let's move on to the next paragraph here. Fountain, our author, also questions the motives of the government when it deals with war heroes. Your motives refer to your intentions. What is it that makes you do what you do? And some people have really good motives. Some people have not so good motives for getting people to do things. Why does the government want to honor these war heroes? What is it that they're really trying to accomplish? Because sometimes the government does things for a different purpose than it says it's doing things for, right?
Yeah, it always seems to be political.
Yeah.
So let's move on here. The soldiers of Bravo Company were sent by the government on a cross-country victory tour, during which people could meet them face-to-face and express their gratitude. So the soldiers of Bravo Company came back to the United States, and then somebody from the government said, hey, we're going to take you guys on a cross-country victory tour. Cross-country just means crossing the country and going to all parts of the country. Florida, Nebraska, Minnesota, Utah, Arizona, Oregon. They were going all over the place. And it was part of a victory tour, and then people in those various places would have an opportunity to meet them face-to-face and say, thank you very much for your service. Thank you for your...
Shake their hand.
Yes, thank you very much. Gratitude, of course, is when you say thanks. Thank you for your gratitude. I'm very grateful to you for what you've done.
Yeah, so I'm sure in some ways that was really great for the soldiers because they felt appreciated. Tom mentioned the soldiers that returned after the Vietnam War in the 60s. They didn't feel appreciated at all. So it's a tough situation. You may not agree with war, but you need to be, I think, polite and respectful to those who have served the country. They're not making the decisions. They're just there to do their job. So they went on this tour, and they could get to meet people, express their gratitude. Gratitude's pretty important in this life, isn't it? Ben Fountain, after going to Haiti, understood how great his life really was compared to some of these people living in poverty. We're going to continue, guys, but first we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是 Sunny。今天我们要阅读 Unit 13 文学单元的第3天课程。在今天的课程中，我们会了解比利·林恩的中场战事的作者 Ben Fountain 创作这本小说的动机，以及这本小说想要传达的讯息。首先，文章的第一段提到美国社会如何对待这些战争英雄。战争英雄们虽然受到表扬，但是他们回归社会后却常常找不到工作，还必须终身面对战争所带来的身心创伤。我们看到这一段的第二句 It examines the way war heroes are treated in modern society。 这本小说检视了战争英雄在现代社会是如何被对待的。名词 way W-A-Y 在这里的意思是方法、方式。如果我们要表示做什么的方式或是方法，我们可以说 the way to 加上原形动词，或是 the way of 加上 VING。 例如 Is this the best way to solve this problem？ 这是解决这个问题的最好方法吗？ The way 后面也可以接 in which 再接一个完整句子，或是接 that 再接一个完整句子， that 这个时候可以省略。例如 I don't like the way Bill talks to his mother。 我不喜欢比尔跟他妈妈说话的方式。这个时候我们也可以用 how 再加上一个完整句子来表示做什么的方式或是方法。例如 I am curious about how my manager dealt with this problem。 我很好奇我的经理如何处理这个问题。这个句子就等于 I am curious about the way my manager dealt with this problem。 要注意的是 the way 和 how 不能一起用，这是比较不正式的文法哦。接下来我们看到第一段最后一句的 后半部分 They are compelled to work minimum wage jobs with only a slight chance for advancement. 他们被迫做最低工资的工作，只有些微的机会能够升迁。动词 compel 的意思是强迫、强求。Compel somebody to do something 就是指强迫某人做某事。例如 I really wanted to be a musician, but my parents compelled me to study law in college. 我真的很想成为音乐家，但是我父母强迫我在大学时读法律。以 pel, P-E-L 结尾的字有驱赶、驱动的意思。例如 dispel, D-I-S-P-E-L 就是指消除、驱散。例如 The boss's official statement dispelled our doubts about this project. 老板的正式声明消除了我们对这项企划的疑虑。Expel, E-X-P-E-L 就是指驱逐、逐出。例如 The student was expelled from school for bullying his classmate. 这名学生因为霸凌同学而被逐出学校。Propel, P-R-O-P-E-L 就是指推进、促进。例如 We are trying to build a car that is propelled by solar energy. 我们正在尝试制造一辆靠太阳能推动的车。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's move on with our lesson. Remember, we're talking about Bravo Company. That's the military unit that the main character of our novel is a member of. And this particular group of soldiers are sent on a cross-country victory tour, and people can meet them face-to-face. They can say thank you, express their gratitude, and stuff like that. Now, on the surface, the tour appears to be a grand gesture to glorify the soldiers. So that's what the soldiers might be thinking. Hey, this is the way the government is thanking us. They are sending us out there. It's a grand gesture. It's a nice gesture, a really nice thing to do for us, to glorify us, to give us glory, to give us recognition, and for people to see us and to thank us, and we can feel like heroes.
I think a couple of these words are interesting because a grand gesture means a really big, overt, I think of the Chinese word 过分. It's a little big for what you're doing, a grand gesture. And if you glorify something, you make it appear to be better than it really is. I think those two words are interesting. However, the government intends, this is their real purpose, listen to this, they intend to use the soldiers' experiences for a propaganda film. Propaganda is it's a group trying to sell their point of view. They use facts, but they twist them to their own purpose. I could give you some examples of communist regimes. They use a lot of propaganda to get their citizens to believe that what they're doing is right. So they control them through propaganda. You got to be careful with what you believe. Always check out things for yourself. Don't always believe what you're being told is the moral of the story. So they hope that this film will influence more people to support the war. So that's the government's true motive. They just want to get people to support the war more.
Yeah, it's propaganda. It's like that film, what was it called? The Triumph of the Will, that was produced by Leni Riefenstahl during World War II to be propaganda for the Nazis. And I've heard that people like to travel to Jinmen here in Taiwan because there's still a lot of propaganda there in various places promoting the cause of the Republic of China and to resist the communists and stuff like that.
Oh, really? I've got to go over there.
Yeah, somebody told me that some of that propaganda is still there.
Historical propaganda.
Yeah, and of course, we all know the propaganda posters from China, you know, Mao Zedong, Wan Sui, stuff like that.
海报. They're called 海报.
Exactly, those kinds of propaganda posters.
My thesis was on that, actually.
Oh, it was? Okay, very good. And, of course, they just want people to support the war, so people will keep supporting the war and paying taxes to support the war and stuff like that. So Fountain, the author here, raises the question of whether or not this behavior is morally acceptable and allows the readers to judge for themselves. So is this a good thing for the government to do, to just use these soldiers to promote the war? Or should the government really be glorifying these soldiers? It seems like the government there is kind of using them for their own purposes.
Right. So finally, it says the novel examines, looks at the strained relations between the soldiers and patriotic citizens. If you're patriotic, you really love your country, you think your country's the best in the world, and you'll do what you need to support your country. Strained relations refers to relationships which are tense. People aren't getting along. You might have a strained relationship with a coworker at work. You don't really like them. They don't really like you. It's not very fun to be in that situation. So they're looking at the relations between these soldiers and those who are rah, we love our country, support the soldiers, yay, war. I think people forget that war is bad, right? But we want to support the soldiers, at least while they're out there. It's tough.
Exactly. But yeah, these people support the war. They're patriotic and stuff like that. But the soldiers probably think, yeah, we appreciate your support, but you guys really don't know what it's like to be over there.
Yeah, you should go out there and fight for a day and see what it's like.
Yeah, you can go raise the flag and chant America's the best and stuff. But would you actually go over there and step on a landmine or something like that?
Blow
or
off your
have
leg.
your arm amputated or something?
It's
or watch a bunch of kids get killed or something like that. So yeah, you got to go there and see it. So that's why they're saying that the citizens' opinions about warfare are often misguided. Misguided just means, well, you've kind of been given the wrong information. You're kind of right, but you're mostly wrong. You are misinformed, you could also say.
Yeah, they don't always know what war's really like. Now, since they have never seen the horrors of war, and we often use that phrase, horrors of war, because horrible things happen in wars, there's no way they can make an informed judgment. If you're informed, you have the facts. You know what's going on. So some of these patriotic citizens may not be very well informed, so their judgment is off. Here it says they can, if they had more correct information and they could see the horrors of war, maybe they'd have a different opinion, perhaps, about whether a war is righteous or not. Righteous means morally sound. Righteous is different than legal and illegal, right? Legal means you can do it. Illegal, it's against the law. But righteous means whether it's right or wrong. Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, whether a war is right or not, you could just shorten it to that, whether it's moral, whether you should do it or not. And therefore, he thinks their blind support for war is dreadful. So, yes, it's support, but it's blind support. They're supporting it, but they really don't know why they're supporting it. So I guess he thinks that, yeah, it's nice that you guys are supporting us, but it's still really weird that you don't know what's really going on there. So in the end, he concludes that it is dreadful. Dreadful just means really scary, but also very, very terrible. Oh, what a dreadful thing he did to her. How could he do that? It's terrible. It's awful. He should be punished.
I use the verb dread when I talk about going to the dentist. I'm sorry, but I hate the dentist. It's my least favorite thing in the world to do. I'd rather go see the doctor. The dentist, yeah, not a happy visit. So
I shouldn't say this, but I've actually tried to enjoy my visits to the dentist.
Yeah, Are you crazy?
I've actually come to like the smell that occurs when they're drilling into your tooth.
I hate the sound of a drill. Is very, very good.
Most people are scared of that. It's quite a dreadful sound.
Yeah.
It just causes you to be scared. So again, back to our story here. He just thinks that their blind support is kind of scary, kind of dreadful. They should support the war or support the soldiers for the right reasons. Maybe he thinks that they are supporting them for all the wrong reasons. Okay, now by the end of the novel, readers are forced to reappraise what people really support when their governments encourage them to support the troops. This is a phrase we often hear in the United States, and there are also stickers that you see on cars. It's usually in the form of like a yellow ribbon or something like that. Support our troops or something like that. And so he's kind of saying, well, we need to sort of reappraise these ideas. Usually to appraise something means to kind of look at something and figure out the value of something.
Yeah, we use it to talk about the value of our homes. You want to get your home appraised or to determine the value of it before you sell it.
Right, so to reappraise means to appraise it again, to assess or determine the value of something. So, yeah, we need to think again about how we support the troops, and then we need to sort of ask ourselves, what does the government mean when it says support the troops? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or is it a good thing, but for all the wrong reasons?
Okay, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to wrap this up.
文章的第二段提到作者 Fountain， 他怀疑政府表扬士兵的动机，表面上是感谢士兵为国家付出，实际上却是一种政治宣传手段，鼓励人们支持战争。我们看到第二段的最后一句 Fountain raises the question of whether or not this behavior is morally acceptable and allows the readers to judge for themselves. 方登提出这种行为在道德上是否可以接受的问题，并让读者自行判断。连接词 whether 后面可以接一个完整句子，当作名词子句，可以当作句子的主词、受词或是补语。像这一句的 whether 就是当作介系词 of 的受词。我们再举一个例子 Whether the gift is cheap or expensive is not important to me. 这个礼物是便宜还是贵，对我而言不重要。这句的 whether 子句 Whether the gift is cheap or expensive 就是当作整个句子的主词。文章的最后一段提到，一般人对战争的看法是被误导的，常常会盲目的支持战争，那是因为他们没有真正体验过战争的残酷和无情。我们看到这一段的第三句有一个形容词 informed， 意思是有根据的，消息灵通的。像99年的学测课漏字就有考这个字，而且还是正确答案哦。它题目是 More often than not, those in their early 20s are the more informed consumers. 20几岁的人往往是消息比较灵通的消费者。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
That's it for today's lesson, and that's it for our featured novel. And hopefully we have encouraged you to either see the movie or to read the novel yourself. Put down that darn smartphone and pick up a novel and read it. Your English ability will improve by leaps and bounds.
It will.
It will. So from all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.